Are you struggling to manage leads and close deals? Because if you are, and you're not turning these leads into paying clients, your business will fail. You might not have heard of sales funnels, or maybe you have and you're not sure if they work or how they work. But let me tell you, they definitely work with the right mindset. In one of my first businesses, once I understood the concept of sales funnels, we were able to grow from selling to the restaurant down the street to be able to go and sell to Google, Salesforce, the US government, and many other top brands. And if you're like me, when I started, I had no idea about sales, never sold anything. But when I studied and I understood the sales funnels, I understood how people buy. It helped me close deals and scale my sales operations. This is the complete guide that you need to learn the 5 stages of the sales funnel, and also the specific actions you take at every stage, and some pro tips that you may not find elsewhere. So what's a sales funnel? It's this process that encompasses every aspect of sales, from when you meet a stranger till they become a lead, till they become a paying client. Now, when you're engaging with leads, think of it as a relationship. Just like when you meet someone, you don't ask them for a date, you don't propose to them the first time you meet them. In sales, it's the same way. You first want to understand their needs, you want to understand what they're looking for, and then get them through this process one step at a time. This is what we refer to as lead nurturing. Because the sales funnel is complex and not linear, we demonstrate it through a funnel. This helps us understand the concerns, the fears, the hesitations a lead may have from the point they meet you till they're ready to buy from you. In one of the surveys I read, 68% of the companies have not identified nor attempted to measure the sales funnel. And the same survey showed that 79% of marketing leads never turn into sales. I want to help you master the science and art of sales funnels and be able to be on the winning side of those statistics. And make sure you download the sales guide that we produced for this video. You can find the link below. The 5 stages of a sales funnel are awareness, education, evaluation, negotiation, and sale, closing the deal. So let's look at the first and broadest stage in a sales funnel, awareness. See, when you have marketing activities, you're going to a conference, you're walking the exhibit hall, maybe you're going to a networking event, you're meeting strangers, or maybe you're running ads. It doesn't matter. Those activities generate leads. Those leads now need to be nurtured. So what do? We want to broaden, we want to deepen that relationship between us and the lead. So basically in this stage, the lead is becoming more aware of you, your company, your service, and you're becoming more aware of the lead and what they need. And if there's no alignment and the lead does not feel understood, you are not going to gain their confidence and they're not going to buy from you. I want to give you an example where I was the lead, I was the client. Years ago, my father moved from out of state to be closer to us. We soon realized that he needed some medical help, especially at night. I searched online and I found that there's something called in-house medical care. That's exactly what we wanted. I reached out to 3 websites. 2 of the 3 businesses I had reached out to did a really good job in getting back to me. And in addition, they followed up with an email answering the questions I asked on the phone, providing some more details. And this is a good tip for the service provider out there for you, the entrepreneur, is to make sure your website has adequate information, current information, useful information, so when leads come your way, they can be educated, they can learn about the services, and this could make or break this deal. It's also important to recognize that the sales funnel is just a framework. So adapt the framework, the sales funnel framework, to the lead, not the other way around. So let's review the steps and the actions you should take in this phase of awareness. Number 1 is make sure you respond in a very timely manner to your leads. Make sure you get a hold of them, you speak with them on the phone, you schedule a Zoom call, you meet them in person, whatever the case might be, but be very close to them, respond to them very quickly. Number 2, provide educational material. Now, the material could be in a number of formats. It could be a blog post, it could be a short video, it could be a white paper. So basically provide any educational material and answer any question they have so they have full knowledge of your services, of your company credentials, and they have trust to do business with you. The most important outcome of this awareness phase is that you, as a service provider, as a salesperson, as a business owner, you understand how qualified this lead is. Now, what do I mean? Well, maybe they told you that they don't have a budget, or maybe they're not ready to buy now, or maybe they're not responding to you at all. All these are indicators that this lead is not ready to buy. You can tag them as cold leads and move on. Now, whether the lead is cold, whether the lead is hot, at the end of the day, it's really important to document everything you're knowing about this lead in your CRM, whatever that CRM is, but make sure you document it and you identify next actionable steps. I don't think you can scale your sales operations unless you invest and implement a CRM. Now, initially, if you have less than say 50 leads, Your spreadsheet might be your friendly CRM, but as you grow the business, as you have more leads, you need to have a place to manage these leads. As we're talking about the sales funnel, and as we go from one stage of awareness to education to other phases, you gotta document all of that information about the lead, what you sent them, what to follow up, when to follow up. All these actions have to be documented. If you don't do that, trust me, you're gonna forget and you'll end up not closing these leads and you'll end up losing revenue and not scaling your business. Another note about the CRMs is that they're customizable. So use that to your advantage. If your sales cycle is shorter, maybe you wanna compress some of those stages. If you have a complex service, you might wanna have more stages. So after you do this for a few times, then you will customize the CRM to fit your needs. And getting back to our awareness stage, in Salesforce specifically, as you see here, there's this prospecting stage, which maps to our awareness stage. And make sure before you move to the education phase, you document everything you learned about this lead. Now that the lead is past the awareness stage, they're now entering the education stage. Now, of course, some education has taken place already, but this is the time to have a deeper engagement. This is a time to make sure your answers are custom tailored for them. So for example, if you share a case study on something similar you've done for another client, show them how this case study can be applied to them. Or maybe you have some standard pricing on your website. In this phase, you want to make sure you're talking about specifics and customize the package and the pricing for this client. I'm not suggesting you send a proposal or you start negotiating or closing the deal. That's too soon. You want to establish that trust where the lead can rely on you, that you're providing valuable information, that you're providing real value. This stage is also an opportunity for you to further qualify the lead. As you get to know them more, you might hear some comment that will raise some flags. If they tell you, for example, I never pay my vendors on time, red flag. Or maybe they're just not nice, they're unprofessional, they could be jerks. A bad client fit is not good for anyone. So make a decision here as you're learning more about them. If they're not a good fit for you, pass it on to another person or just tell them that's not a good fit. Let's go back to my own in-home care example. I had a lot of questions, so I asked for more detailed information. Both of these businesses, they sent me this long list of FAQs answering every question that could come to mind. In addition to the FAQ, one of them had this online assessment that helped identify the business that I needed for my father. This assessment sealed the deal. It helped me identify exactly what I needed to do. Now turn this around. You as a service provider, the entrepreneur, use these tools, come up with the creative tools to engage your lead. Maybe an online assessment, maybe a long list of FAQs, maybe a short video or a series of short videos or any other tool that would help move this lead along this funnel. The important part here is that you're building confidence, building trust, and this lead, they know that they can rely on you to deliver the service and become your client. So what are the steps that you should take in this education stage? First of all, remember, this education is a continuum. We started in the awareness phase and now we're building on. Second, ask open-ended questions. This will help you get deeper into why the client is looking to buy. This will help you understand their budget. This will help you understand a lot of details that maybe you've missed out in the awareness stage. Also, let's say your service includes some sort of software. So if you have maybe a demo that you can show, that would be a plus. Maybe you can also do a small proof of concept that will take you a few hours but will demonstrate your ability to address the need of the client. Now, if you sense that the lead is skeptical about your ability to deliver, share with them success stories and examples on how you help other clients in very similar situations. And keep in mind that in this phase and in every phase of the sales funnel, communication with the client in a timely fashion is super important. It's crucial. As outcomes for the education stage of the sales funnel, your lead should have a much better understanding and a deeper understanding of your services. And you, the service provider, should have a deeper understanding of their requirements. A common question, should I send a proposal now? I'm of the opinion of delaying the proposal to later stages. Why? You don't want to spend a whole lot of time producing proposals and nobody's buying. So there's still a negotiation phase. There's still other things you want to discover. But I think you have two options. If you have a boilerplate service, pretty straightforward, your proposals are easily produced, yes, go ahead and send it. But if you have a complex service and you have to customize the package, customize the scope, you have different pricing options, you might want to wait till the negotiation phase before you send that proposal. As you see in the Salesforce user interface, the Discovery tab corresponds to our education stage. And here, another reminder, make sure you diligently document everything you're capturing about the lead, enter it in your CRM, and be ready to move to the next phase in this funnel. If you're finding this sales funnel walkthrough useful, like this video and subscribe to the channel. And now let's talk about the next stage, evaluation. Once you have progressed your lead past the education stage, they're now entering the evaluation stage. Keep in mind that the lead is evaluating you in every interaction. From the first time they spoke with you, were you professional? Were you responsive? Were you thorough? Were you impressive in terms of the amount of information you know and how you educated them? So keep in mind that evaluation happens throughout the sales funnel, and every interaction could count for you or against you. The other part of it is they're likely evaluating your competitors. Most of us want to make sure we're getting our money's worth. So we talk to other people, we talk to other service providers. Don't panic, this is part of the process. What you want to do is to try to understand what the competitors are telling them, see if you can get that information, and make sure you present yourself in a differentiating way. The last fold of the evaluation is the internal evaluation. There are other stakeholders involved in the decision-making process. This internal evaluation is likely to lengthen this whole process of closing the deal. So you want to be aware of who else is evaluating, so you plan accordingly. But what are the factors that can help you anticipate the length of this evaluation phase, or potentially all the phases of the sales funnel? Price, of course, a factor. The higher the price is, typically the longer the evaluation period is. Second, B2C versus B2B. If you're selling to individuals as a personal service, it's likely to have a shorter sales cycle. But if you're selling to businesses, there are many stakeholders in businesses. Another factor is complexity. If you have one computer that you gotta get fixed, it's not gonna take a long time to evaluate a vendor to help you with that. But if you have a company with 500 computers and you have some cybersecurity needs, the evaluation period for identifying a partner, a vendor who's gonna help you with this work is gonna take much longer. Another factor, importance. What is the downside of a bad decision? How critical is the service? Again, in the example of the in-home care service I was looking for, it was my father, who was very important to me. Price was secondary, other aspects were secondary. It was very important to select the right partner that I needed to hire. Now, with all the information I had, all the resources, all the material they sent me, I began to compare. Number one, how long have they been in business? 2, have they provided services in similar situations? 3, what are the credentials of their staff and workers? And 4, price. Price was not the most important thing, but it was still important to look at. Let's go back to the steps that you should take as a service provider in this evaluation phase. The number one thing is, this is the hottest stage in terms of communication. Whether it's email, in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, make sure you're prompt, you're responsive, you answer the questions as soon as they come in. Second, this is a time to write a proposal. And third, it's very likely that your lead is speaking with competitors. So this time around, they might be asking you new questions, they might be bringing up new objections, so be on the lookout and answer these objections and address these objections very promptly. Also, if you're not competing on price, make sure you highlight your differentiators. Maybe you have credentials that your competitors don't have, so highlight those. And last but not least, have a list of a few references that you can pass on to the lead. These past clients that loved your work, they'll be your best advocates. The outcomes of the evaluation stage of the sales funnel is as follows. By now, you should have made a focused effort to make sure your service meets that client's requirements. Second, you're in a strong position to make one of those 3 determinations. 1, the lead is not going to proceed with you. They're going elsewhere or they decide not to buy. 2, the lead is ready to buy, but not at this time. 3, they are ready to buy and they want to buy now. Now, if everything checks out, but the lead still says no, yes, it's sad, the lead is going away. There might be an opportunity to sell in the future. So market in your CRM, this person, this opportunity closed, no sale, but do a follow-up in 2 or 3 or 4 months. Regardless of the outcome of the stage, make sure you make thorough updates to your CRM. And if the lead is giving you the nod, if you're still in play, let's move to the negotiation stage. Once the lead has evaluated you, the terms of the proposal, their own preparedness to sell the service, it is possible they'll come back and negotiate on some items. I would say it's probably more likely than not. So what do people typically negotiate on? A number of things. For example, pricing, or maybe the time or the frequency of the service. Potentially, they might ask you to extend the warranty. So what do I recommend here? Don't take it personal. Don't think about it too much. Focus first and foremost on closing that deal. You've worked so hard to get this lead to this point, won't close that deal. At the same time, put some parameters around what you are willing to work with. Now back to the in-home care service I was looking for my father. What did I negotiate on? I asked the business owner, the person I selected to do business with, I asked them for a discounted hourly rate. They said no. I said, how about if I commit to a long-term contract? They liked that idea. They gave me $5 per hour discount, and then I signed the long-term contract. I got a concession, they got a deal, everybody's happy. It's important at this point to give the lead anything that can help them make that decision faster. You want to sign that deal. Now, what can you offer? Think of something that doesn't cost you a whole lot of time and money, but it is of perceived value to the customer. Every customer, every one of us, we want to make sure we're getting our money's worth. So offering something that's not very time consuming, that will cost you a little bit more, it help you close that deal, and then you have a client, you have another logo, you have more experience, and next time you can maybe make it up in upselling or cross-selling or in retaining this customer for a long-term contract. During this negotiation phase, keep updating your CRM. There's a lot of back and forth and you want to track all of that and record it in your CRM. And if everything's checking out, you're very close to record a sale. Once you and the lead have agreed on the price, the terms of the proposal, and all the other details, the lead is now moving to the final stage in the sales funnel, the sales stage itself. But before signing the deal, potentially there's one hurdle, especially in a B2B scenario. Lawyers will get involved. The client's lawyers will have to look at the proposal, look at all the terms, and make sure they're okay with them. Or in some scenarios, larger companies will have their own master service agreement, MSA, and they'll send that to you, and you'll have to get your lawyer involved to review those terms. Regardless, lawyers will have to review this, and this will add a little bit more time between the negotiation phase and closing that deal. It's okay, it's part of doing business, be prepared. Now, if the lawyers are not involved, or once you have agreed on all the terms and what's typically called the red lines, once that's all agreed upon, you are ready to do two things. One is to get that contract signed, and two, make sure you get that first payment and make that payment really easy. A pro tip here. I once heard this quote, time kills all deals. At this stage, you want to be super close to the client. Follow up with them. If they email you with some changes in the contract, get your lawyers on them very quickly. If they have questions, answer it right away. If you need to go to their offices and work through issues, do it. What's important is that you get that contract signed. I've seen many deals lost in this late stage of the game. Sometimes the buyer that you negotiated with for a month or two or three, they moved on. They go to get another job. Maybe the other competitor who was running neck to neck with you, they heard that they lost this opportunity. They'll come back and offer aggressive pricing, aggressive timelines, whatever the case might be. My point is stay very close to the lead, answer their questions very promptly. If they come back to you with a lot of changes, on the contract, get your lawyers involved very quickly. Do whatever they can to make sure that contract gets signed. An amazing example of moving very quickly on closing deals is the business owner I contracted for that in-home care service for my father. As soon as we negotiated all the terms, within an hour, I get this email. It has an e-document. I reviewed it. I signed it. He got a client. I got a service. Everybody's happy. Take the final step to fully close the deal and make sure the engagement starts off on the right foot. For example, make sure all the timelines, all the milestones are documented. Now, yes, they're in the proposal, but remember, in the negotiation phase, there was a lot of back and forth, and vendors, leads could forget. So summarize all that information, put it in an email along with the signed contract, and say, here's what we agreed to. Here's the next milestones. Here's the cancellation and refund policy. Here's the next step that we want to take, and then get ready to move that contract into delivery. Now, regarding payments, make it super easy for the client to pay you. Offer all options of payment: check, wire, credit cards, PayPal, whatever is out there. Crypto, if you are so inclined, there might be a risk there. But at the end of the day, what I want you to do is make it easy for them to make that payment. I once lost a deal because I didn't want to pay those credit card fees, that 2-3% fees that credit cards charge you. That was a silly mistake. I lost the deal. It still hurts, but hey, I learned from it. Now keep in mind, for bigger companies, sometimes they have something called a purchase order, a PO. They have to issue the PO before you can invoice. Again, this is part of doing business, no issue there, but it could delay invoicing, it could impact your cash flow, so be aware. Now, once you have the signed contract, the PO, or maybe the first payment, it's time to kick off the project. Set up an internal meeting with your delivery team, go over all the details of the proposal, everything you committed to, the expectations, what is it that you should do, what is it that the client should do, and be ready to deliver that service. At the same time, set up an external kickoff meeting and go over the same with the client. Back to our CRM, proudly mark that opportunity as a closed deal. Now, 2 pro tips here. One is, if you have systems where you reach out to leads, make sure you remove that lead, the one you just closed, remove their contact information from that system so they don't get emails and communication that is intended for leads. Also, closing that deal or closing that opportunity, it doesn't mean that the sales job is done. Mark your calendar in a few weeks, in a month or two, get back with this customer, ask them how they're doing, ask them if they're happy with the service, and if they're delighted with you, maybe ask them to be a reference so they can help you close the next deal. We've reached the end of this sales funnel walkthrough. I hope you'll be able to apply these lessons to your own sales funnel, to your own business, and close more deals. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. Share an idea, share what worked with you, ask a question about sales, and I'll be more happy to reply here or on startupwithferris.com. See you next time.